So now we are doing volume of cylinders in this lesson. And again, this is under module 12, where we are measuring 2D and 3D figures. And this is lesson 12.6. Our learning target, I can use the formula for the volume of a cylinder given its diameter or radius and the height. The vocabulary, cylinder, and volume. So as you can see, this is a cylinder. And if I look at cylinders, okay, it's a three-dimensional figure with two parallel congruent circular bases connected by a curved surface, okay? And the area of the base of a cylinder tells the number of cubic units in one layer, okay? So the area of the base, and the height tells how many layers there are in the cylinder. So, for me to know how much can I put into this container, for example, because volume is the amount of space it occupies, right? So it's important how much can I stuff in here. So you've got to know what the volume of the area of the base is and times the height. Okay, and so then we'll know how much we can put into this cylinder. Okay, so let's go ahead, and as I just said, we have a circular base and a circular height. That's why we said there are two parallel congruent circular bases. And so when I'm looking at the area, which is the big base, not big base, the big B, all right, which is the area of the base. So if I look at this, what is the area of a circle? So area of a circle, okay, is going to be pi r squared. And we've already learned how to do this, but we can also call this B, because what does B mean? The area of the base. Okay, and so that is going to be pi r squared, and then we have the height, which is this part. This is the height. Okay, and so again, this part over here, same thing. What is this? This is my area of the base, which can be written, area of the base can be written like this. So pi r squared. So, okay, so either here or there, you can take any of that as your base. Okay, so I just want to show that to you. Now, if I am trying to find the volume of this, I have to do, volume would be the area of the base. So remember, volume is the area of the base times the height, right? So what is the area of the base? This is pi r squared and times height. So this is how we find the volume of a cylinder. Okay, this is how we find the volume of a cylinder. Okay, so let's go ahead and do some calculations with this. When solving problems that involve pi, okay, you can use the value of pi as stored in a calculator, or you can record your answer in terms of pi. For example, let's use this cylinder to do those calculations. Okay, so we are going to record volume in terms of pi. Record volume in terms of pi, okay, or we are going to use the value of pi from a calculator. Okay, use the value of pi from a calculator. Okay, so let's go ahead, look at how do we find the volume of this cylinder. And I know that volume is pi r squared h of a cylinder, because we have the area of the base, which is a circle, times the height, and that is going to give me the volume of a cylinder. Okay, so I can see over here, and what is my radius? Radius is this. Okay, from the center to any point on the surface of the circle. Okay, so as we can see, this is going to be, r is 4, so I'm going to do pi times 4 squared, okay, times what's my height is 7, right? And so now what do I get? I get pi times 4 squared, 4 times 4, which is 16, times 7. And then I get volume is going to be 112. If I do 16 times 7, pi inches cube, because volume is always cubic units. So if I am leaving it in terms of pi, this is what is going to be. Now, if I am going to use the calculator, I will have everything till here, which is the same. So volume is equal to pi r squared h. So volume is pi times 4 squared times 7, which is pi times 16 times 7. Okay, now I am going to give the value from the calculator, and if I do the volume, it becomes an approximation, because what is pi? Pi is an approximation, right? So 3.14, and I end up, if I use my calculator and I do 16 times 7 times 3.14, I get here 351 and 6800th. And so then I round it 1 and 7/10. But if I use straight from the calculator, I would end up with 351 and 9/10. But if I am inputting the value, of 3.14 and then doing it, I would get 351, and as I said, 6800, which becomes what? 7/10. Okay, so this is an approximate value of the volume. Okay, so depending on whether you are inputting 3.14 into the calculator or you are just hitting the pi calculator from the value of pi from the calculator. Okay, so this is how we calculate. Remember, this volume, when we are using the value of pi, it becomes an approximation, because what is pi? Pi is an approximation of the volume of what 3.14 is. Okay, so now let's quickly talk about a problem, and let's say I have a cylinder. Okay, and let me go ahead and do this. Okay, so I'm going to use this one, and I am going to change this one to 5 centimeters, and then I am going to change this to 8 3/10 centimeters. Okay, and so find the volume of the cylinder and round to the nearest tenth. So we're going to look at this, and what is volume of a cylinder? It is pi r squared h. Okay, so volume is pi r squared h. And so what do we have? We have pi times, what is radius? Is 5, so 5 squared times height, which is 8 3/10. Okay, and so therefore volume, when we do, what is 5 squared? 5 squared is 5 times 5, which gives me 25. Okay, times 8 3/10. And so I end up with volume is pi times 207 and 5/10. And then I am going to use a calculator and I get volume is approximately, when I use a calculator, I'm going to get 651 and 9/10. And please remember that it's a cubic unit, so it's going to be centimeter cubed. Okay, and this is how we find the volume of a cylinder. So let's do another example. All right, let's do another example. But let's see. We're going to find the volume of cylinders given the diameter. Okay, given the diameter. So let's say, go to this problem. Find the volume of cylinders given the diameter. Okay. Find the volume of a cylinder with a diameter of 16 inches and a height of 20 inches. Express your answer in terms of pi. Okay. Now, we know that the volume of a cylinder is pi r squared h. And we've got to leave our answer in terms of pi, okay? So now we know diameter is 2 times the radius because 2 radiuses give a diameter. So all I would do is change the diameter to radius. And for that, what am I doing? I'm doing 16 divided by 2. And so therefore, my radius is going to be 8. So diameter divided by 2 gives me the radius, right? So this is my radius and this is my diameter. Okay, and so first of course I have got to find the radius, and then I can carry on with the rest of this, and I can do volume is equal to pi times, what is the radius? Radius is 8. So 8 squared times what is the height is 20. Okay, so therefore this is going to be 8 times 8 is how much? It's 64 times 20. All right, and so we know that 64 times 10 is 640, and you can just double that if you're doing math in your head. But otherwise, you can see that volume is equal to 1,280 pi, because we are leaving the answer in terms of pi. So the volume of the cylinder is going to be 1,280 pi cubic inches. Okay, so this is the answer which is left in terms of pi. All right, so let's do one last problem involving the volume of cylinders. So let's look at this question. A metal paperweight is in the shape of a cylinder. The paperweight has a height of 1 5/10 inches and a diameter of 2 inches. How much does the paperweight weigh how much does it weigh if 1 cubic inch of metal weighs 1 8/10 ounces, and round to the nearest tenth? Okay, so in order to find out this question, we are in the first step, we are going to find the volume of the paperweight. Okay, and we know that volume is equal to pi r squared h. And so volume is equal to pi. Okay, if my diameter is 2, what is half that? This much is going to be 1. right? So this is going to be my radius. So my radius is going to be 1. So times 1 squared times my height, which is 1 and 5/10. Okay, and so 1 times 1 and all that is always going to be 1. So ultimately what is my volume? It is going to be pi times 1 and 5/10, right? And so, or you can just say what? Volume is 1 and 5/10 pi. And if I was using a calculator, I would get, and I would round to the nearest tenth, I would get volume is approximately 4 and 7/10. If I was using a calculator and finding the value of pi, I would get 4 and 7/10 cubic inches. Okay, so this is my volume first. So this was my first step. Now, the second step is to use the volume to find the weight of the paperweight. And each cubic unit weighs 1 and 8/10 ounces. So how much would 4 and 7/10 cubic inches weigh? So I would do 4 and 7/10 times 1 and 8/10. Okay, and I would get 8 and 4600 when I multiply, and then if I round it, which is about 8 and 5/10 ounces would be the weight. Okay, so the weight of the paperweight is about 8 and 5/10 ounces. Okay, in this case. So once again, please remember volume of a cylinder is dependent on, of course, the base, which is a circular base. So that is why you find the area of the base and times the height in order to find how much is space that cylinder is going to take, because that's what volume is all about. Have a fabulous day.